The narrative unfolded in Novocherkassk, where Alexander resided. It was a frigid January day when the ordinary routine of Alexander commenced. As he stepped out into the chilly air, encounters with neighbors or friends were probable. However, fate had a different plan. In a twist of events, Alexander stumbled upon a peculiar object not far from his home. Though motionless, it exuded an unmistakable aura of life. As he approached, a sense of foreboding washed over him. The creature on the ground was a dog, sadly badly injured. Alexander knelt beside the poor animal, heartbroken at the sight of its wounds. Despite the dog's condition, it was still alive and breathing. While some might hesitate to help due to a lack of time or resources, all Alexander could think about was assisting the injured dog in any way possible. Feeling an urgent need to act, he lifted the dog into his arms and headed towards his home, which was also close to his car. Once Alexander gently placed the canine in the car, he quickly got behind the wheel and drove to the local vet. The drive was short, and Alexander carried the dog into the veterinary clinic. His heart raced as the vets took the dog from him. They immediately went to work, sedating the dog to ease its suffering. The clinic operated with professionalism and efficiency, showcasing a collective effort to help the poor creature. Mishka, as the dog was later named, was fortunate to have been found near Alexander's house, as he deeply cared for animals and their well-being. While many might fear getting involved in such situations, Alexander believes that helping animals is always the right thing to do. He encourages others to follow suit and take action when someone or something is in need. Despite financial constraints often hindering healthcare, Mishka was fortunate to receive support from people across the country. Typically, rehabilitation costs can be prohibitive, but Mishka received all necessary treatments at no expense. This was made possible by raising 60,000 rubles to cover his needs. The story spread, prompting many Russians to contribute out of compassion for Mishka. With funds exceeding requirements, the surplus was allocated to another cause. Individuals like Alexander, who are dedicated to animal welfare, played a significant role in this endeavor. The remaining donations were utilized to establish an animal shelter, providing safety and refuge for several other strays like Mishka. Veterinarians endeavored to learn more about Mishka, discovering he was only a year old and likely a random target. Remarkably, Mishka was a familiar sight in the neighborhood, appreciated for his friendly demeanor. Locals often fed him and were devastated to learn of his ordeal. Fortunately, the operation was successful, with the removal of the crossbow arrows leaving Mishka with only a few stitches. To prevent infection, Mishka was prescribed antibiotics. Following this, he was given the name Mishka. Post-operation, Mishka showed immediate improvement, with the injury limited to his skull, leaving the rest of his body unscathed. Despite the potential impact on memory from a skull injury, Mishka remembered the man who saved him. Once Mishka regained control of his body, he surprised everyone by running up to Alexander, who had been anxiously waiting outside the operating room. The sight of Mishka's excitement lifted the spirits of everyone present, including Alexander, whose worry turned to joy. Mishka's recovery was swift, taking no more than 2 weeks for him to look and feel as he did before the accident. Throughout the ordeal, Alexander remained by Mishka's side, determined to find him a permanent home. Despite being cherished by the local community, homelessness was not ideal for Mishka, especially given his social nature. However, this predicament was short-lived, as fate had a different plan for Mishka. He crossed paths with someone he could never thank, Irina, a nurse residing in Novocherkassk, the same region as Alexander. Irina was deeply affected by the news of Mishka's ordeal, her heart shattered by the cruelty inflicted on him. Working in a profession that prioritized the health and safety of others, Irina was inherently empathetic. The moment Irina and Mishka met, it was evident that they were destined to be together. The shelter where Mishka stayed after the operation had only praise for Irina. The shelter, called the Sviatovo shelter, was overseen by Olga Mosiak, who witnessed the immediate change in Mishka's demeanor upon Irina's arrival. It's a well-known fact that a happy dog wags its tail, and Mishka was no exception. Upon seeing Irina, his tail started wagging rapidly. He eagerly climbed into her arms, displaying a familiarity and comfort that made it seem as though they had known each other for years. Despite their recent introduction, Mishka showed no desire to leave Irina's side, cementing the bond between them. Now residing in Irina's apartment, Mishka enjoys a comfortable life thanks to her stable income as an ambulance worker. The spacious living space is ideal for a lively dog like Mishka, who has never been happier since finding his new home with his loving owner. Despite his physical healing, the emotional scars from his past as a stray linger. Mishka sometimes feels scared to venture outside and is wary around men. However, volunteers at the shelter are confident that Mishka will eventually overcome these fears with time. Alexander visits Mishka occasionally, much to the dog's delight. While Mishka may still have some emotional healing to do, his loving nature and good behavior, even as a stray, give everyone faith that he will flourish under Irina's care and the support of those around him. There is no doubt that Mishka's life will continue to improve, surrounded by love and care.